Youth unemployment is one of the greatest problems facing the country, and the coronavirus pandemic is not making things easier. Well, to discuss this further on this Youth Day, how COVID-19 is changing the realities of education and youth unemployment, we're joined via Skype by Crystal Duncan-Williams of Youth Capital. She's a project leader of Youth Capital. Crystal, thank you very much for taking your time. I know that later on today, you'll be participating in a webinar organized by the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation to mark Youth Day. If you don't mind giving our viewers just an idea, what will your message be? What will your message be tonight?
Thanks so much, Dan. So at Youth Capital, we're an action-led campaign, a youth-led network, where we're trying to promote a 10-point action plan to shift gears for youth unemployment. And our big message is going to be very similar, actually, to what Tess has just spoken about. For too long, we've spoken at young people and told young people what they need. And what we really need is a cohesive plan across all the stakeholders involved in youth unemployment, and a plan that is based in the lived realities of young people and supported with the existing research and evidence. So that's going to be that's my message for
Thank you. Thank you for giving us an idea, because some of us might not be part of that webinar. But your action plan, does it take into account psychosocial support, the need for psychosocial support in our communities? I mean, I've been involved in a number of organizations over the past few years that try to support youth in terms of skills and development in their various communities. And one of the biggest challenges is the need for psychosocial support.
Absolutely, Dan. So our focus areas of the plan are education, transitions, the period between leaving school and entering the world of work, and jobs. And across all of those, we have action points that include psychosocial support, because as you say, we've had numerous engagements with young people over our 2.5-year existence. And the one thing that comes up in every single conversation we have with young people is mental health support. And so this is crucial at a school level, at a post-school level in university and TVETs and colleges. Young people are calling for more support. Young people are dealing with a lot of trauma. Has already been mentioned on your show this morning, the issues of GBV, the violence they see in their communities, the scourge of drug addiction. These are the kinds of things that young people talk about, and they're really desperate for psychosocial support. And what we've seen works at a school level is community-based organizations who provide just a loving adult figure in a young person's life can make a huge difference. A mentor to a young person who's left school, is trying to find work, can make a huge difference to a young person to feel heard, valued, and seen. Yeah,
we played a report a short while ago, Crystal, of a psychiatrist who's warning about the stress levels during COVID-19. And we know, as you've just said, that young people are really the hardest hit as well. I mean, during this lockdown, we're seeing a lot of mental health challenges. Now, young people are expected to go back to school. Matriculants are back at school. Grade 7s are back at school. Higher education, tertiary, final year students are back at school. I mean, how can they be enabled during this time to make sure that they are not left behind from both an academic and a mental health perspective?
Absolutely. From our youth network, we've been in touch with young people via WhatsApp and social media throughout this lockdown period. And we've had a lot of young people just say, I'm really struggling. Even if I have the benefit of having gotten data, even if I have the benefit of having gotten learning material, I'm struggling to focus because of the anxiety and the stress that I'm dealing with. And I think a lot of adults listening to the show can empathize, and for young people, they're carrying that on top of everything else. So we really think that schools need to create space for debriefing and mental health support. The live orientation curriculum does exist. I know schools are scrambling to fit in academic curricula now, but young people aren't going to be able to thrive academically if emotionally and mentally they're not well supported. So I think it's really important that schools continue to focus on that aspect.
Yeah, and I think part of that aspect would involve a properly designed and developed catch-up plan.
Absolutely. So the catch-up plan we're speaking about, as Tessa said in the last interview, COVID-19 has only put a magnifying glass to existing issues of infrastructure, issues of a lack of a catch-up plan for learners who have knowledge gaps. And so at Youth Capital, one of our action plans is a national catch-up strategy, saying that learners who are progressed to the next grade, who are missing basic numeracy and literacy skills, are identified early and given the support they need to make up those knowledge gaps and to really thrive. And along with that comes the psychosocial support we've been talking about.
Yeah, now youth unemployment, I mean, is like endemic. I mean, it's so deep-seated. I'm just wondering if we'll ever get over it. But very briefly, as we conclude, Crystal, for us to effectively address youth unemployment as a country together, what are the things that need to be focused on in the next short, medium, and long term?
So I think, as you say, it's easy to get stuck on the number. We hear all these numbers all the time now, especially with COVID. But to put it in perspective, if we fill the F&B Stadium over 80 times, we still wouldn't hold all of the young people who are not in education or employment. So I think people just need to sit with that and realize the huge problem we have on our hands. And then to think there are small steps we can all take. If you're an employed adult, find a young person in your community, mentor them, connect them to opportunities you hear about. That's a small step somebody can take. At a ward level, at a school level, the community can come together and say, there are local businesses in the area. Let's provide a little youth center for the youth to photocopy CVs, to have data access to apply for jobs. And then at a government and policy level and big business level, there's lots of incentives that do exist, like the employment tax incentive, BBBE, CETA funding. These are all large amounts of money, and we believe that they're not being used as effectively as they could to leverage young people and give them a first stepping stone towards a career path.
Crystal Duncan-Williams from Youth Capital, thank you very much for your time, and good luck this afternoon with that Ahmed Kathrada Foundation webinar in which you'll be a panelist as